Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Words for Life. My name is Stephen, and I'll be your host. This is the podcast where we look for motivation and inspiration through quotes, ideas, phrases, and people. Today's quote goes like this: Life is about balance. Be kind, but don't let people abuse you. Trust, but don't be deceived. Be content, but never stop improving yourself. Balancing life is probably one of the more difficult things we run into as we get older and acquire more responsibilities or take on more responsibilities. We find that work takes up a certain amount of time. We find that relationships, friends take up time, making sure we get adequate sleep and exercise, and making sure that we have enough for our children or our families to go and give them the time, as well as finding the time to improve ourselves. This balance also extends to how much do we put trust in other people, or how much do we allow ourselves to get into situations that might improve us but scare us at the same time. Life is a major balancing act, and it becomes more and more difficult with the more things you take on. So, as we work through the challenges of life and balancing all those things, how do you find your life balancing out? Do you find you're spending more time in one area than another? Are you sacrificing sleep and rest for, say, work, or for a hobby that maybe might be causing some detriment to your own health? I challenge you this week to look at the balance in your life. This could be your emotional, physical, relational. This could be the amount of trust that you're putting into others. This could be the amount of, health and fitness that you have. Take this and evaluate your balance in your life. Are there areas that have a lot more either time or energy than others? Do you find that you neglect certain areas because they're difficult or challenging and it isn't somewhere you want to put your time and effort into, but it might be causing you to suffer in other areas of your life? The challenge this week is to write down what is the balance level for all the areas you can think of in your life. I'm not going to give you the list. I think it's best that people do it on their own, because then they will have either more granular or more broad strokes for what they think are the various aspects of their life. Someone might include relationship and family in one. Others might split them into very more granular, such as like friends, acquaintance, social media contacts, whatever might be the case. But I take it on yourself to go and divide up your life into different sections and determine what is the balance. Put it on a scale of 1 to 10. Some people call this the life wheel. You can use that if you want, but put it on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being the lowest and saying that you don't have a good amount of time or energy that you spend in this area, and maybe it's suffering a little bit. 10 being that you put a lot of time and energy and it's being very successful. Maybe it's a little too much and you're not balanced in the other areas of your life. But as you go through this exercise, you'll find areas that maybe you are putting a lot more into than other areas, and those other areas are suffering for that. So, finding a way to maybe pull back in an area where you're putting a lot of energy into and trying to put that energy into some of the areas that might be lacking. When you go and establish balance in your life, you'll find that it's a lot easier to move through life. There's less stress related to it, and you don't feel kind of lopsided and moving around in a kind of a torrent, so to speak. When you're unbalanced, it's difficult to be thrown even further off balance. So, by going and doing this analysis of the balance in your life, you have a better chance of being able to address it now instead of letting it take control and possibly causing additional areas of your life to suffer, such as health or wellness or mental wellness. So, by taking the time now to go and figure out what the balance is, you actually can benefit in the long run by creating the balance. Now, if you do find areas of your life that are unbalanced, maybe you trust too much. That's something you can go and work on. Now you've found something in your life that you can go and work on. Maybe you don't trust people enough, so you haven't developed strong relationships or really deep bonds with people. That might be another area. Could be that you are spending 15 hours a day working, even though you really don't need to. Okay, maybe you're a salary person and the amount of hours you work doesn't really matter, but you're neglecting your spouse or your family for that, thinking that the more hours you put in, the more success you'll be. But at the end, your children or your family, they're not going to remember that, oh, he worked 15 hours every week or every day to make sure we could provide. They'll remember that you weren't there on a birthday, you weren't there on an anniversary, you ran late to a special dinner. They'll remember those things. So keep that in mind. So again, the quote is, life is about balance. Be kind, but don't let people abuse you. Trust, but don't be deceived. Be content, but never stop improving yourself. See which areas of your life are unbalanced and that you can work on. And work on those areas and try and improve them and create the balance. You can balance all of them out at 10 if you want to, but this at least gives you something to work towards. If you're unsure about the balance in your life and you'd like help reviewing it, going through it, and setting some goals and ideas on how to improve different areas of your life, please let me know. My coaching website is linked below, and I'd be more than happy to talk with you and better understand if I can help you in those areas. I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Words for Life. Please join me on the next one. Thank you, and have a great day.